¿Cómo están? A ver si está funcionando el video. Ahí está. It's working. All right. Hola chicos. ¿Cómo están? I wanted to talk to you guys today about something because I was teaching the lovely Doreen on Saturday, and I was telling her a story. We were learning the word ponche, which is punch. It was like Christmas themed, our vocabulary of the day. And I was telling her I was so excited that that word was finally, I learned that word like in the first year that I learned Spanish, and it was finally used for the first time around Christmas time last year when I was in Argentina at a girlfriend's birthday party, actually, Colombian girlfriend's birthday party. And I was just telling her the story, and she goes, Danny, I have a question for you. How do you have so many Latin friends? And I started telling her about it, and actually I thought it would be a really wonderful topic to talk about with you guys. So it is wonderful if you're learning Spanish to have people in your life that are native speakers of Spanish. Why? Because you learn Spanish really well when you make it a part of your everyday life. And this is something I tell you guys all the time, right? If you would normally watch YouTube and you would watch videos about stretching, makeup, cooking, fixing your car, whatever you're going to watch videos about, if you watch those videos in Spanish, you'll understand Spanish because you kind of know something about the topic and you'll make a lot of connections, and it will just further along your learning. I tell people to put their social media in Spanish. I tell people to like cook recipes in Spanish. Anything you can do to make Spanish a part of your daily life will really advance your learning. And having friends that are native Spanish speakers is another way of working Spanish into your life. So I wanted to talk about this topic. I kind of accidentally made a lot of friends who spoke Spanish, and then it's something that kind of perpetuates itself. So I was always interested in learning Spanish since I was a kid, and I saw these like sexy flamenco dancers, and my mom was a musician and she had like Cuban and Puerto Rican and Cuban music in the house, and so I kind of always had this idea of these places that spoke Spanish through music and dance. And so when I started taking Spanish in my second year of university, and I also at that time took like a salsa class, and in the class there was a bunch of people, and then from that class they actually said we're going to start a salsa team, and so they actually like took me on the team because I had other dance training, and then they taught me salsa. And half those people on the team were from Colombia. There was a girl from Guatemala. There was another girl who was Chilean. There was another girl who was Mexican. There was another Colombian. And actually still good friends with a lot of those people today. I love you guys. And so it was funny because I joined that team, and then, you know, we started hanging out, all of us, right? And we started going out and doing stuff outside of the dance team. And then one of the girls from the team was dancing on a Chilean folklore team, and she was like, hey, Danny, come join the Chilean folklore team. So I joined that, and I was dancing Chilean folklore with them for some time. And I was the only one in the group who wasn't a native Spanish speaker. And I kind of had Spanish all around me. And it was useful because at that time I was taking Spanish class, and so I would hear them speak. I would understand maybe, I don't know, 60% of what they were saying. I was kind of in there at that point. Anyways, I've just written some notes about this, and I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about this. So I'm going to see, what did I write? My biggest advice for you guys is, just like I say that you want to make Spanish a part of your daily life in a very natural way, right? Like you want to interact with the same topics that you would interact with in your normal life anyway, but just in Spanish. That's the same way you should make friends who speak Spanish, right? The same way you would make friends, right? So like for me, you know, sometimes people spark my interest for one reason or another. I've made friends over, I don't know, sharing a plate of food. Gisela and I met. Gisela is from Colombia. She came here when she was, I think, about 9 years old, maybe 11 years old. We met at a Colombian Independence Day festival. I was there with other Colombian friends who were kind of, but I was kind of separated from them. And I bought a plate of food and sat down next to her. We started sharing the plate of food. We started talking about stuff. And this is like a good friend of mine, and has been a good friend of mine. What's up, Gisela? Anyways, so what I want to say is like the way that you would normally make friends, it's the same way you make friends in Spanish, right? Like you meet someone. I once met this woman on a bus, and I liked her perfume. This was in Argentina, right? And I was like, hey, what's the perfume? I really like it. We started talking. She invited me to her restaurant. She became a friend, right? Native Spanish speaker. She didn't speak any English. So in the beginning, it might take a little bit more effort, and then it kind of perpetuates itself. So you can put yourself in environments where you know that there's going to be Spanish speakers. You go to a Spanish restaurant or a Latin American restaurant, right? You know a lot of those people who work there are going to speak Spanish. You can strike up a conversation with them. You can go dancing to a Latin nightclub. You can go to a group where you know people are practicing their Spanish. You can set up a conversation exchange. You can go to like Kensington Market if you're here in Toronto, right? It's full of people who speak Spanish, and you can speak with the vendors, and just like the same way you would initiate a friendship in any other way, you could initiate a friendship with someone who speaks Spanish. And then that thing kind of perpetuates itself. So I made a few friends, for example, on this dance team, and then they were like, okay, Danny, come to this party, come to that party, come celebrate Christmas with my family, come do this, come do that. And then I met a bunch more people who spoke Spanish, right? So it was the kind of thing where I didn't really seek it out. Like, I kind of followed my interests. I really do believe that you inhabit the same circles as the people that you're supposed to come into contact with. And so, and if you follow your heart and you follow your interest and you put yourself in environments that you like, you're going to meet people who value those same things because they're putting themselves in those same environments. And I've seen that in many areas in my life. What else do I got here? Yeah, actually, so I joined this salsa team, and then a lot of people on the salsa team are also part of the Latin American Students Association at school. And the funny thing is, I was like, I'm not going to join that group. Like, I'm not Latin American, so why would I join it, right? But the funny thing is, because I was friends with all those people that I was dancing with, and a lot of them were part of the group, they invited me out, and they were also friends with people in the Latin American Students Association. So all these people just became my friends. So I became part of that group. I didn't join it because I wasn't Latin American, but then all those people became my best friends, right? Because we were spending time together, and so it was kind of like a natural thing. And out of that, one of my best friends is Cuban, and she actually said to me, like, come to meet me, come see me in Cuba, and you can stay at my grandmother's house. So I stayed in her grandmother's house in Cuba. Another one of my best friends is from Argentina. She said, come celebrate Christmas with me in Buenos Aires. So I went to celebrate Christmas with her in Buenos Aires. A lot of my friends are from Colombia. They, come to my Christmas parties, come to that. Same thing. Mexican Christmas parties are really cool. I've had Mexican friends invite me to their Christmas parties. One of my best friends is from Guatemala. She says to me, like, yeah, come spend Sunday with my family, right? So we're friends. I go spend Sunday with her family, and at the same time, I'm learning a lot of stuff just by observing stuff, and because they want to share their culture with me. Also, like, it's kind of easy to, if you think about it, like, you're working so hard to learn Spanish, right? You're working so hard to learn something that's so important to these people, their language, right? And by that, you're learning their culture as well, and so you're learning about them. So they like that, right? They like to see that you've put in all, and some of these people, like, they've come to North America from Latin America, and they've had to work so hard to learn your culture, right, and your language, and so they love to see that you're working hard to learn theirs, and so they're interested in you. They want to know about your experience because maybe it was similar to theirs. So there's a lot of points of connection there that you guys can bond over. I speak Spanish every single day of my life. And it's funny because, and you guys can speak Spanish every single day of your life too if you set up your environment in this way, right? I speak Spanish with my students every single day. But it's funny, like, not just when I'm at home, but also when I was in, of course, Argentina, I spoke Spanish every day. Even when I was in Israel, I spoke Spanish every day. Because you just end up in inhabiting the same environments as other people who have similar interests. And for me, that was Spanish. And so I spoke Spanish every single day in Israel as well. I took a comedy course in Spanish, and so I met a lot of other native speakers, and then they became my friends, and then they invited me out, and then I met more people. It's this kind of cyclical thing, right? So seek out your interests, gear them a little bit more towards Spanish, and then you'll naturally meet a bunch of people, and then it will become part of your life. You'll like some people, you won't like other people, and the ones you like will stay your friends. I think that's all I got for you people. Oh, here's another thing. Toronto, especially in the summer, I mean, not all of you guys are in Toronto. Some of you guys are in Switzerland, Romania. I've got students all over the place, but there's tons of tourists from Latin America or Spain, right? And so this has happened to me maybe 5 times in this past week. Like, somebody in the subway is looking lost, so I go to them and say, hey, do you need some help? If I hear an accent or see something that shows me that they might be from a Spanish-speaking country, I take that opportunity and say, hey, do you speak Spanish? Yes. Okay, cool. So then I give them directions in Spanish, right? Another connection and an opportunity to practice your Spanish and use it in your everyday life, right? Anything else I got for you? Yeah, it's a kind of a cyclical thing. It's a chicken and an egg kind of thing. And you know what the cool thing about this is, like, if you have friends who are Spanish speaking, you learn a lot about the culture. It gives you this sort of immersion experience without necessarily leaving wherever you live, if it's not a Spanish speaking place. And it will help you a ton with your Spanish. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. Seek out your interests, right? If your interests are Spanish, you'll seek out that kind of thing and you'll naturally meet people. Yeah, that's it. That's what I got for you guys. So hopefully that was helpful. If you have any questions, post them in the comments below and we can talk about this cool topic. Ciao, chicos. Ay, ciao, chicos. Nos vemos.